Welcome to this presentation of the database TileMaster. TileMaster is the database which contains all the information needed by all the other functions of the software package TileMaster Pro. The database is available as a standalone product, and it can be expanded later with the plugins Budget Master, Glazed Master and Safety Master, which will be described in the following presentation. The heart of the calculations performed by TileMaster Pro 32 is the Relational Database, which contains all the datasheet of the raw materials, of the semi-manufactured products like glazes and bodies, and the finished products. The datasheet of each raw material can be opened searching by name or by code, or selecting the raw material from a pop-up menu with the list of all the raw materials available in the database. The datasheet of each raw material contains all the information available for that raw material. In the example is shown the chemical analysis on the top left, the mineralogical analysis on the top right, the cost structure on the bottom left. Many more information can be saved in different windows, which can be selected from a pop-up menu at the bottom right. The user can customize with information to show on the screen. The administrator of the database can create different user profile with specific authorization to see and or modify the information in each window. Now we enter the semi-manufactured product database, where are saved the datasheet about glazes, seal screening pastes, and bodies. As for the raw materials, also for the semi-manufactured products, we can search by code or by name, or we can select from a pop-up menu with the list of all the products available in the database. The structure of the semi-manufactured product datasheet is similar to the raw material datasheet. We can see here the formulation on the top left, the cost structure on the top right, and the ball mill to be used for this glaze on the center left. Many more information can be saved in different pop-up windows, and the user can customize the windows to be displayed on the screen. Here again, the administrator of the system can assign different levels of authorization to each user. The ball mill batch sheet can be expanded and printed out in such a way that the batch is divided in 4 parts. Main batch, to be weighed on a big scale. Pigments, to be weighed on a high precision scale. The chemicals, which can be liquid, and the addition at the end of the milling to be kept apart up to the end of the milling operation. TileMaster is a relational database, and it can be searched using a specific query language. Selecting the query option on the toolbar, we can search the database to know which glazes contain a specific raw material, or which raw material we do have available which contain a specific chemical component. Now we enter the finished product database with the information about the finished ceramic tiles. The finished product database can be searched by code or by name of the product, or selecting the item from a pop-up menu. Here we have a selection made by partial code. The finished product datasheet is quite more complex than the raw material or glazes datasheet. The main part is the production datasheet, partially shown on the top. The finished product datasheet can contain also all the information needed for the cost and operative margin calculation. For this reason, we see here on the center left the selling price of the product, the information about the body, and on the bottom left the partitioning factor for general and commercial expenses and the information about the packaging. A very important part of this datasheet is the table of the productivity parameters on the bottom right. On this table, we have the productivity in each department, or the number of pieces per minute, and the waste. This is the technological waste inherent with the product, not the waste caused by the malfunctioning of a part of the plant. We can also assign a loss of glaze and a loss of product to each production startup in order to increase the cost of short production runs. Let us now analyze in detail the production datasheet. Here we shifted the table on the right to show more information. We highlighted with a red box the value of the density and the value of the dry percentage of the engobe. The production datasheet will react to any changes in the density of a glaze, calculating the correct dry percentage and updating the cost. In the bottom of the production datasheet, we highlighted with a red box the cost per square meter of the glaze, which is 0.7267. Now we will change the density of the engobe from 1,500 to 1,600 grams per liter. Here we change the density of the engobe from 1,500 to 1,600, and the dry percentage is gone up to 60.37%. This has an immediate impact on the cost, which goes up to 0.4715. The last column shown in this section of the production datasheet is the glazed dispersion. This dispersion is associated with the applicator used in order to correctly calculate the quantity of glaze to be prepared. Making good use of this parameter, the actual consumption of raw materials will be always in line with the calculated consumption, and the theoretical cost of the glaze per square meter will always be accurate. In order to calculate the cost and the requirements, TileMaster needs some additional information, like the cost and the average service life of silk screens, or the cost and the average waste of each packaging component, and so on. These information are saved in specific accessory datasheets. One way to make good use of the information saved in the TileMaster archive is to forecast the requirements of raw materials, glazes, screens or rollers, and packaging materials needed for a specific production program. Using a specific dialog box, it is possible to specify or import a production program, both as production after the glazing or quantity of boxed material in the warehouse. For the second option, it is necessary to input an average fired waste. This is the result of the calculation of the quantity of glazes to be prepared to meet the needs of the specified production program. This result already accounts for dispersion and waste on the glazing line. This is the requirement of raw materials needed to prepare all the glazes specified in the previous mask. The table shows if the raw material is present in the raw material warehouse or if it needs to be purchased. This is the result of the calculation of the forecast of the need of silk screen or rollers. Using TileMaster, each screen is addressed to the product which make use of it. The last result of the material requirement calculation is the forecast of the need for packaging material. Each component of the packaging is addressed to each specific packaging. Another interesting feature of this calculation function is the possibility to load the quantity of material delivered to the warehouse as a production program. This will give in return the quantity of each material that should have been used according to the parameter written in the production datasheet. Correcting the dispersion parameter by progressive approximation, it is possible to keep the theoretical consumption in line with the actual consumption. It is enough to select the specified time interval on which to make the calculation, and the system will load the data from the warehouse as production program. The system will show the quantity delivered to the warehouse and add to each item the waste in selection, the waste at the kiln exit, and the waste on the glazing line in order to get the actual quantity of glazed material. If the waste and the dispersion parameter are correct, the difference between theoretical and actual consumption will stay within 1 or 2%.